Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy, Steven Moustaris. And guys, don't let me get professional out here. Finally got a new mic, finally got a nice interface, finally got it all. No more USB microphone out here in the Blue Yeti. So hopefully my audio sounds way better. And thank you guys for staying patient with me. And your boy's just learning out here. We're trying to get better and better as we go. And hopefully we are. So, with this being said, man, I think this is the last weekend we have before it marks a whole month before we've had a nice UFC card or an MMA card in general. So it's nice to sit here and kind of look through the comments and see if there's any topics or any questions people are requesting or asking. And luckily for me, the first question comes from Unger Pop, and it's all about the SeanO'Malley and Aljamian Sterling fight. And this isn't the only time I've heard this or seen this or anything. So shouts out to you, Unger Pop, for bringing this up. But I've seen it all over the internet ever since this fight happened. And basically, man, did Aljamain Sterling get paid to lose this fight? And when we take a look at this question, so it's a multiple part. I'm gonna break it down as best as I can. We're gonna watch some footage and whatnot. UngerPop2475 says, another thing I want to address, it needs a full proper video on it because it means something when people argue about who's the best and who lies to the public with a straight face. Aljo versus Sugar. You see Aljo close his eyes because he knows the punch is coming. You see him not raise his arms because he's getting paid not to. And you see him do nothing on the ground because the non-disclosure contract is already signed and the money gets deposited if he loses. Nobody likes Aljo. He hasn't found himself. It shows in the way he speaks. People don't like people that don't know themselves. Aljo got paid to lose that fight, definitely. I figured since this question is about Aljamain Sterling, why don't we just ask him? So I DM'd Aljamain Sterling and I asked him this question. And to be fair, he didn't respond. Shocker, he's not going to respond to me. But I did put it at the end. If this was the NDA thing, don't respond if it is true. And he technically didn't respond. So maybe that is your answer. So, but all jokes aside, the one thing I will bring up before I start breaking down footage and whatnot off of this comment is I 100%, I think all of us have to agree here. The UFC wanted SeanO'Malley to win this fight. 100%. Like you said, nobody likes Aljamain Sterling, all these things. I have, in the 30 years of the UFC, in the 40 years since Pride, all these things, I don't think we've ever witnessed a fighter go through the dominance that he was going through and to actually win the championship and then get all the hate. I've never witnessed it. Usually you get a guy that's like kind of talk shit about, people might not like him as a fighter, and then like Sean Strickland becomes a champion and then now everybody loves him. The stands come out. We all love him. And it was the exact opposite with Aljamain Sterling. And what makes it even worse, man, truly, if you're an Aljo fan, and you got to feel bad for Aljo here, it all stemmed from something that wasn't even his fault. If Piotr Jan didn't throw that illegal knee, we're not even sitting here talking about Aljamain Sterling right now. He wasn't even ever going to become champion. He probably would have had to fight Corey Sandhagen again, or the who's who of that division. He might have already moved up to 145. So for us to be sitting here and, talking about how much people hate Aljamain Sterling because of an illegal knee he didn't even throw, is just, man, it's so sad. And I know people are out there like, oh, it's not the knee, it's the acting job that Aljo did in the octagon. It's afterwards where he's celebrating with his family. Yes, every single one of these things absolutely hurt Aljamain Sterling. But can you blame the guy? It's easy for you and I to sit here on the couch or wherever we're at watching these fights and go, oh, he's acting in there. That's an illegal knee, sure, but like, man, he's acting, he's faking it. Like, but look what it did for him. Look what it did for his family. Got all these paychecks, became a champion, got the pay-per-view points, did everything that he possibly could, got some title defenses under it. Like, comes back and beats Piotr Jan. That's the other crazy part, is that we know he goes and gets surgery. We know he takes forever to fight, which hurts as well. That's why the UFC starts hating him. But once he comes back and takes all that hate from the media, takes all the hate from the fans, all the pressure from the UFC, he comes back and beats Piotr Jan. Yeah, split decision. Could have went either way. But the fact that he was even in that fight after being dominated at the end of the first one and all the hate and the layoff and everything was absolutely phenomenal, man. I thought that would have got him the fans again. But then, of course, he goes on to fight TJ Dillashaw with a blown-out shoulder. And instead of people hating TJ Dillashaw for taking that fight, it goes on Aljamain Sterling for some reason. And then he decides he wants to fight Henry Cejudo, who was out for 4 years or 3 or whatever it was. And that fight was really close, but he ends up pulling it out. And this is where it all comes downhill here, is where Aljamain Sterling, are talking about, oh, I'm going to move up to 145. I don't want to fight Merab, who's beating everybody in this division. And this is where the UFC hates him. He's holding the division hostage by saying, I might move up to 145 depending on this next fight. I don't want to fight my best friend, my training partner, who's the #1 contender in this division right now. Like, yeah, of course the people are going to hate him. This is where you kind of got to be honest here. A multi-billion dollar company who just signed with the WWE that did TKO, does all these things. I don't want to ever say that they rig fights because they know that would ruin it, but I know that they want a certain agenda to play out. They want a certain fighter to win, and they'll do a lot of what they can in their power to do that, and make sure that that happens. And I think this happened with O'Malley. Like, when's the last time we saw the UFC let a fighter come in, the next contender come in to, face off with the champion? And this is from Dana White. This is from the UFC, who always says, "Oh, we don't make the next fight the night of the fights that we just watched." Like, "Oh, that guy just fought. We got to give it a couple weeks, give it a couple months." They did it that night. Put Sean O'Malley in there, face off, forced Aljamian Sterling to fight him. Didn't matter if he was hurt or not. Pushed it to be at UFC Boston, which was 100% the Sean O'Malley crew, the crowd, everything. I think even Aljo's family was rooting for Sugar Sean O'Malley that night. And it just was downhill. It's the first superstar that we see. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to break down this footage and everything and look even deeper to see if you are onto something. But I don't think the fight was rigged, but I can 100% tell you that clearly the UFC wanted Sean O'Malley to win. So did they get dirty in, negotiations? Like you said, the NDA was signed, so he can't talk about non-disclosure agreement or whatever. So if that was signed, clearly that this will never be a thing. But, since the NDA might be out there, the first thing I had to do was just DM Aljamain Sterling and see what he said. So, no answer, but I did say don't respond if this is true. So you might be on to something here. But all jokes aside, let's look and see at this footage, and let's see if Sean O'Malley and Aljamain Sterling was kind of rigged at all, or if Aljo was paid to take this punch. So I picked this one up. I started the clip off in the second round. Clearly not trying to use too much of this footage. I'm not trying to get blown out by the UFC here. But, after rewatching these clips so many times, I'm telling you guys right now, there's no way in hell that Aljamain Sterling takes a dive in this fight. If you guys go back and rewatch this, man, there's every time that O'Malley throws a kick, it must have been the game plan for Aljo to close distance, to get close, because every time that O'Malley does throw a kick, it's your best chance of anybody throwing a kick. Your best chance to get them off balance, maybe to get them trip up a little bit over their own feet or something, maybe get them up against the cage, anything to get that takedown. And let's get into the footage here. It started off in the second round. Aljo comes out strong, putting the pace. You see that the teep kick misses a little bit. O'Malley slips. Aljo's so deep on this single leg. O'Malley just does such a good job of not staying squared up on the cage and getting out of there, using the head control, using the wrist control. And then there's that teep kick again. He tries to come in, and he just takes it. And I think what you're looking at, Unger Pop, I think when you see Aljo take that first punch and he actually sees it coming, you see this all the time, man. When these guys go for it, it's a game of inches out here. We see it all the time in these fighters where you go to make your move and you just maybe extend a little too far and you're like, oh, fuck. Your awareness is so high that you're like, oh, shit, here it comes. And I think when you're seeing, I slowed it down a little bit. I got the slow motion going. We're about to watch it again. But I just think that he sees it coming. He knew he fucked up. He extended a little too far, kept himself open. And I'm just telling you, I think him closing his eyes is more so, shit, here it comes. So again, every time you see O'Malley throw this teep kick, Aljo tries to come in to close the distance. And here comes this one, bang, right up the middle. And look at, he just tries to close that distance a little bit because you can see his feet are a little closer, extends a little too far, and you can just tell here he's like, oh, shit, and just knows it's coming. And if we look at the ground and pound, I'm telling you, when your face hits the freaking canvas before your body does, you know you're in trouble. You know you're rocked. So I'm just telling you guys, I think after looking at this, it's not the first time that somebody has said this, and I don't blame somebody for it. I just really think that this just so happened to be a coincidence where it just worked out so perfectly for the UFC. The UFC clearly wanted O'Malley to win, the superstar. Aljo out here kind of trying to act like the king of, oh, I might move up to 145. I might do this. I might do this. I refuse to fight my friend Marab. All these things. I just think it all just the world, it's a weird time where I think the UFC finally gets what it wants. And it's easy to sit here and say that it could be rigged and it could not. But the one thing that I will agree with you, there's no secret at all. The UFC wanted O'Malley to win this one. But as always, your boy, Steven Moustaris. Hopefully you guys like this video. Sorry for some of you guys that already knew this fight wasn't rigged. But it's a solid question just after the treatment of Aljo. So Unger Pop, I appreciate you for always commenting. I think you've commented on my thing like 57 times or something. I appreciate you, man. You're my boy. So I hope everybody's doing well. And let's go, baby. Can't wait for some MMA.